Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Scores studio. Welcome to the show. Welcome to this corner of the internet. It's kind of, I'm just thinking about this, it's kind of weird, you know, just being like, I am in a room talking to myself, kind of essentially. I mean, there's a camera right there. I am talking to you, but like, you're watching it later. Regardless, this is just, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting too. Now, let me know what your thoughts on this are, because I think today's topic is actually really interesting, because the meta in Commander, it's like, it's different because there are different play groups that have different play styles and different things that they're looking for. You could have one player that's building like chair tribal, where it's just like pictures of people with chairs. Another player building like the hardcore stacks deck. So like there are different thoughts about, you know, what Commander is and what the meta is. You kind of know like the meta for your play group, the meta for your LGS if you go there enough, essentially, just kind of what is in. And I'm here to tell you that, well, I don't know what your meta is, I'm sorry, but when it comes to my meta and things that I can take from essentially knowing what is going on around me at least, maybe I can make some hopefully correct assumptions and give you a couple of different decks essentially that can help dominate no matter what your meta is. So with all that said, let's jump into them. So first up, a commander that can go in a lot of different directions, a very powerful commander, one that got quite a bit more popular after Golos got banned. Regardless, Kenrith the Return King, a 5/5 human noble for 5 mana. That would be mono white, except it has so many abilities that it is 5 color. Pay a red, all creatures gain trample and haste until end of turn. Pay 1 and a green, counter on target creature. Pay 2 and a white, target player gains 5 life. Pay 3 and a blue, target player draws a card. And of course, pay 4 and a black, put target creature card from a graveyard on the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is a commander that is definitely group hug, right? It can go in that direction, obviously, because you can benefit anyone with any of these. That being said, you can do some disgustingly crazy, amazing things with this and build this into a commander that is just a powerhouse. So yeah, there are definitely going to be some commanders on this list that are not nearly as, I mean, maybe. I mean, depends. Depends on your perspective, depends on your meta, on how targetable a commander is. But this is a commander where it might not even matter at a certain point with the amazing, crazy things that you can do with it. And you can even put a limiting factor on this commander. Let's just say with this kind of a deck, and I actually have a deck built around this one, Zirda the Dawnwaker. All right, as a companion, you are throwing a limitation on yourself, and that limitation is, if this is your companion, each permanent card in your starting deck has an activate ability. Your commander has 5 of them, so yeah, your commander obviously meets that requirement, but every other one of them has to. And it says activate, or sorry, abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. This fact can't reduce the mana, and that costs less than 1 mana. This opens up so many possibilities with Kenrith. Again, with Zirda in play with Kenrith, that means, yeah, it doesn't really affect that first one. The second ability, again, now costs a single green mana to get a counter on something. That is very powerful in many circumstances. The third ability, which is just now a single white mana and target player gains 5 life, you can also use and abuse that so well. The fourth ability, now it just costs 2 mana to draw a card whenever you want to, or make someone else draw a card too. Lovely. And the last ability, pay 3 mana, reanimate a creature. Yeah, there are some crazy, busted, broken things you can do with that. Now, one of those things you can do is just kind of annoying and funny, for you at least. Spore Frog again and again and again. You can definitely do that, where you're like, ha ha, Spore Frog. Cool. Sacrifice, prevent all common damage to be dealt this turn. You can't hit me. You can't hit me. You can't hit me. As long as I got like 9 mana available, which again, you're in green, you can ramp, you can get there. You literally could just have Zirda out, your commander out. As long as you're sticking around, you'd be like, okay, Spore Frog, sacrifice it in my graveyard. Ha ha, bring it back. Spore Frog, ha ha. Just fogging again. Just stand stilling your opponents if you really want to do that. Or, I mean, you know, you can maybe have a Auric Lore Mage out, which does have an activated ability. Tap, search left for a card, put in your graveyard, then shuffle. It's not going to be the answer or sorcery, so don't worry about the next part. What it's going to be is a creature, because with this, you can just tutor creatures in your graveyard, which your commander can get out. And again, with Zirda, 3 mana. Reanimate whatever you want. Yeah, there are some crazy possibilities with this one. You know what? Let's just make this even crazier, okay? Let's get Biomancer's Familiar out. This actually does have an active ability, which doesn't really matter, but, I mean, because it says tap, the next time target creature adapts this turn. It adapts to the no counters on it. Woo, adapt. Really cool ability, wizards. Maybe not, but also doesn't really matter because this has an active ability. Even if you don't use it, doesn't matter. Meets Zirda's requirement. Speaking of that, activate with creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. Okay, so this plus Zirda equals cost reduction of 4 for every activated ability, which means that, Kenny, all your activated abilities now just cost a single mana. absurd. So draw cards for a single blue, reanimate things for a single black. Yeah, I mean, that's not enough to just win you the game, but that is something that can really make it hard for your opponents to do absolutely anything against you. And, yeah, you could just win the game with Composite Golem. You don't even need the Bioman's Familiar on top of that. You could have either that or Zerta, and there you go. You infinitely win the game because your commander is also a win condition of itself. A 4/4 artifact creature golem for 6 mana. Sacrifice it, add Wooburg to your mana pool. Here's the play. Okay, you have Zerta in play. You have this either in your hand or your grave or whatever you play it. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't like you anymore, Composite Golem. And it's like, no, why? You were friends with me for such a long time. No! You sacrifice, you get the mana. And then it's in your graveyard and you're like, okay, I want you back. I always wanted you to be my friend. Comes back because you're like, okay, I'll pay the 2 and a black. All right, with whatever combination of colors I want. One being having to be a black. Get it back out. Oh, cool. I got 2 extra mana. Let's just say that's a blue and a white. Whatever, okay? I got 2 extra mana just floating there. And then I'm like, okay, Composite Golem, it's been fun, but goodbye again. And you're just like, no, why? Sacrifice it. All of a sudden, you keep doing this loop again, generating infinite mana of every color but black. You know what one of your abilities is? Pay, well, it would be 3 and a blue, but it doesn't really matter that it's reduced down with Zerta because it's 2 and a blue. You have infinite mana. All of a sudden, you're like, oh, okay, cool. If I really want to draw my deck, I can, but no, I'll just, every one of you draw your cards. I'm so generous. I'm having you draw your cards. But I'm going to have you draw every single one of your cards. So you lose. Unless they have like a Lab Maniac in play, then don't do that. But they lose. So yeah, I mean, you could just draw your entire deck. Make sure you have responses to things as well. But your opponents lose. That's all there is to it. Your opponents just draw their decks and they lose. And again, this is a very simple, very easy setup. You don't have to build Infinite Kenny for it to be powerful, obviously. This is just one direction. Again, Zerta does limit what you can put in the deck. So keep that in mind. That being said, there's still some very powerful things that you can do with it. There's some very powerful combinations of things, very powerful creatures activated abilities. But yes, a Kenny deck can definitely dominate a meta no matter what the budget is, essentially. You can build things and do crazy things with it and dominate and control and just do obnoxious things with Kenny. Kenny, you're cool. Congratulations, you made the list. Number 2, a very different commander. One that years ago wouldn't be a legal commander. I mean, I guess they could have slapped on the text, whatever, but it can be your commander. They put on that text, which typically I don't like because they just use that to get around the rules committees, you know, no planeswalkers as commander thing. And they're like, but we like planeswalkers. We're wizards. We're planeswalkers. Yay. Have your own opinion on, you know, planeswalkers as commanders. That's completely fine, but they use that in certain ways, and this way it's kind of like, yeah, if it's a legendary vehicle, it probably should just be able to be your commander, because, like, it is a creature. It can become a creature more so, I should say. So that kind of makes more sense than just being like, planeswalkers can be commanders, because why not? An 8/8 legendary artifact vehicle for 4 mana in Azorius. Pay 1 in tap, draw 2 cards, discard a card, create a 1/1 pilot that has this creature crew's vehicles, though power 2 or greater. Also, crew 8. So here's the thing. You can care about those pilots, or you can not care about those pilots, or you can utilize those pilots in different ways. Or yeah, you can use them to crew your commander. The most important thing here is you've got a commander that is an absurd value engine. Absurd value engine. This is pay 1 tap, draw 2. Yeah, sure, you discard 1, but you're like, oh, okay, I discard like this land that I don't need. You're just absurdly drawing cards with this, and you're in 2 colors that can untap this so easily, so many times. I mean, sometimes for, I guess, the white untap effects, you need to actually crew that to make it into a creature to untap it. But this is a commander that is, when it's not a creature, harder to deal with than most commanders out there because it's just an artifact. It's not a creature. You know, your standard Wrath of God board wipe is not going to take it out. So this is a draw engine that you can use and abuse very easily in these colors that can just dig down into your deck for what you need to win. And also, by the way, it's also an 8/8 too. When you need it to be an 8/8 and just smack your opponents, you probably have enough pilots out there that you can crew it and just smack your opponents with something that takes out basically like a third of their, you know, commander life total, right, when it comes to commander damage. And obviously there's ways to make it into a 2-shot or even 1-shot KO. Moving on, I mean, Thought Reflection. Yeah, like, I should have brought up Teferi's Aegis Insight, actually, because that's actually more budget-friendly now, and I just realized that. I was putting the episode together. Teferi's Aegis Insight, this one, whatever it is, you're doubling up your cards, okay? If you draw a card, do 2 cards instead. So, again, with your card advantage technically off of the initial, right, the regular version of Shorikai, it is draw 2, discard 1. You're up 1 card at the end of the day. Technically, it's more valuable than that because, again, you're probably drawing 2 cards, and you're getting rid of 1 card that you don't need, maybe that you already had in your hand. So you're digging down deeper and getting rid of something you really didn't need. So again, card selection in there with card advantage. Now though, with Thought Reflection, and again, there's also various insight, there's ways to take advantage of drawing. Hey, you get 4 cards and you discard 1. Cool, up 3 cards now in total, plus that card selection aspect to it. Yeah, that's absurd, just for 1 mana and tapping your commander. Oh, and by the way, we've got untap effects that we can then take advantage of our commander again. Like, a dramatic reversal. Untap on online permanent you control for just 2 mana. Oh, that includes my mana rocks as well? Cool, I generate mana essentially with this most of the time, and also get to untap my commander and do it again. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to take advantage of that. Also, there's permanent ways to take advantage of it, like Vizier Tumbling Sands, tap, untap, no target permanent. Or you can cycle away to untap 1 permanent. But yeah, being able to just untap your commander again, and again, and again. Card advantage is absurd, and again, it's a commander that can be difficult to deal with. You also have another artifact that can help you out. On Better Time, tap, untap, no target permanent. Cool, untap your commander, do it again. The amount of times that you can untap your commander with this kind of a deck is absurd, and you can really take advantage of all that. You can also take advantage of, well, the pilots that it makes in different ways. Again, like I mentioned, sure, sometimes you're like, yeah, I really would like my commander to be a creature so I can smack people. Other times you're like, no, I'd rather you not be a creature so you can be more protected. But also, when you're making those pilots, it's just nice to have little 1/1s. Why not? But also, hey, Junkwinder says, well, I have affinity for tokens, so the more tokens you get to play, the better. I can be, just blue for a 5/6 Serpent. On top of that, there's just one tiny little thing. Whenever a token is battlefield under your control, tap target online permanent opponent controls, it doesn't untap red source X untap step. This is a brutal card. This is an absurdly brutal card. Again, basically a 2 mana 5/6 for this commander that you can then, every single time you activate your commander, you make a pilot, which you're like, cool, I don't really care about you. Maybe I do. But also, let's tap that down. Doesn't untap. So you can just tap down a lot of your opponent's things. An absurd amount of things that they don't get to untap, maybe even ever again once you're set up properly. So have fun with that. Yeah, absolutely crazy. Also have fun with punishing your opponents whenever you draw a card. Psychosis Crawler, lovely. Being able to say, you know what? Let's just say every time I draw, you also lose life. Why not? Whenever you draw a card, you lose 1 life. So now every single time you activate your commander, you're draining for 6 in total. You're saying opponents, you each lose 2. Oh, by the way, never mind. Sorry, I have a thought reflection in play. You each lose 4. Yeah, being able to just untap your commander, make everyone lose an absurd amount of life every single time. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to finish opponents off. And again, like what I mentioned earlier, you have an 8/8 commander as well. You have one that's just like a 4 mana commander that is a 3-shot KO. Now you have to crew it still, and get it through, but you got ways to get through. Okay, even like a very simple levitation. Creatures you control flying. Enchantment for 4 mana. A crazy good card. Love this card. Being able to say like, oh, okay, yeah, now my mech, which basically is what your commander is, has flying. It can fly now and just go over your guys and hit you in the face. There's also unblockability as well when it comes to these colors as well. And yeah, by the way, also maybe I have a Duelist Heritage in play. Whenever one of our creatures you control attack, you may have target attack. Sorry, not even you control. Whenever one of our creatures attack, you may have target attack and creature gain double strike until in turn. So this is a political card. It can help you out in those ways. We're like, hey, you're about to go to combat. You're about to attack. Don't attack me. Attack that player, and I will give your creature double strike. They're like, yeah, that sounds good. Hit that player for even double. So, yes, you can politic with this, but also just doubles up one of your creatures, essentially. So you're like, hey, Shorikai, you want to hit for 16? Yes, please. Oh, maybe you have another Anthem or another Pump effect in play. Cool. Hit for a 1-shot KO instead. Lovely. Yeah, this is a commander that, again, can finish opponents off in a variety of ways. But really, it is just a value engine at heart that is hard to deal with. Pretty low to the ground, again, for a 4-mana. Just keep tapping, untapping, and utilizing it, making tokens. Utilizing them in a lot of fun ways. Have fun with that. Shorikai is one that can impact a lot of metas, and some players might not take it nearly as seriously as they need to. They're like, oh, yeah, you can crew it, whatever. It's just an 8/8. It doesn't have any blockability to it. It's like, I can just block it. I'll trump block it, whatever. And you're like, no. I'm going to have an absurd turn where I do all these things and then smack you in the face for a 1-shot KO, because that's what Shorikai's potential is. Next up, moving on, I will say please be careful with this one in particular, because I'm going to show you a deck that I built that I've played, I think, 2 times because I didn't realize how powerful it was. And not that I regret building it, but yeah, I'm only going to take it on certain occasions when I do let other people know what's going on with it, because this is an absurd deck that can just destroy absolutely anything. And I mean, okay, not like top tier CDH like win turn 2, but like this deck, if it does what it wants to do, you just win. You just win. Okay? Eska got out of the tree. This is a $7.25 commander. This is the cheapest version of this, why I'm showing that. Anyways, the rest of the deck is so budget friendly, it is not even funny, essentially. So let's flip over to the actual side that we're using, though. Prismatic Bridge. This is how that we are using, okay? 5 mana. Legendary Champion, the beginning of your upkeep, reveal a card to top your library to reveal a creature or planeswalker card, put that card on the battlefield, rest of your library in random order. This is a commander that can be built in a lot of different directions, okay? Kind of like Kenny can build a lot of different directions. This one, you could go big creatures. You could go cool planeswalkers. You can do a combination of both. Or if you're a degenerate like me when it comes to building decks, you're like, I want to have one thing that this can get, and that's it. So every single time, you just do that. Again, and again, and again. And because of that consistency, again, as long as you can get this out, which we will have ramp spells, we'll have ways to get this out pretty quickly, and we have ways to protect it too. As long as that happens and we get to our upkeep, we basically just win. As long as very, very few little conditions are met. That's basically how this works, okay? All you need to do is get your commander out and wait a turn, and you win. What kind of commanders can do that for you? Well, a secret commander that is Inktrader Nephilim. A card that in the past I have said that the Nephilim should be legendary, because they definitely should be legendary based on like the lore, that kind of stuff. It's like there's definitely one Nephilim of each of these Nephilim on Ravnica. I'm thinking of Ravnica, right? Inktrader is probably the one that's like, yeah, if that was real after I built these decks around Inktrader Nephilim, it probably should be banned. But it is not a commander, therefore it's not banned. So a 3/3 Nephilim for 4 mana. Whenever a player plays an instant sorcery spell, if it's the only target of the spell, copy the spell for each other creature that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those creatures. This basically replicates the spell to everything that it can possibly replicate to that is a creature. So what's going to be happening is, well, oh no, if someone were to destroy this Inktrader Nephilim with like a Terminate, oh no, it wipes the board. That's not what we're doing. That's, yeah, I mean, I guess the downside of what this thing would be, but what we're going to be doing is absurd amounts of value. Here's the thing. You have 3 opponents, right, in Commander. Just take take a notepad, right, to yourself for your next Commander night, all right? Each one of your games, just at like the 5th, 6th, 7th turn, just write down how many creatures are in play. I'm going to guess it's probably around 10 or so around that time. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, depends on the deck. It doesn't really matter. If that's the case, and you got Prismatic Bridge out, which then your upkeep got this out, you just win. You just win. Your opponents can do probably nothing about it. You just win. Because what you're going to be doing is you're going to be casting Expedite. A single red mana. It says target creature gains haste, I'll turn draw a card. Very fair card to say, you know what? Hey, you get haste, I'll draw 1 card for 1 mana. Except here's the thing. With this secret commander, you're like, okay, I'll target Inktrader Nephilim. I also target all 10 of your creatures, essentially, right? And I gave all your creatures haste. You're welcome. But now I'm drawing, well, Inktrader Nephilim is 1, plus the 10 over there. That's 11 cards for 1 mana. When do you get that kind of value? Never. Never. And again, this is like right when this thing comes out. Right when the Inktrader Nephilim comes out, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, spend 1 mana, draw 10. Oh, sorry, 11. Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Okay, I just dug down into my deck, again, for 11 more cards that are all low to the ground, instant sorceries that can just target a single creature and give me absurd amounts of value. Again, the amount of value they give me normally is just regular, normal value, like 1 mana, draw a card. But because of Inktrader Nephilim, which is like, no, replicate that to everything you can replicate to, you're drawing an absurd amount. You're taking advantage of the fact that you're playing a multiplayer format with so many players, with all their creatures in play. And if you're playing against a token deck, you're just like chomping at the bit to get to this because you're like, oh yeah, oh no, you just got 5 more soldiers out. How scary, oh darn. And you're like, all right, okay, next turn, Inktrader Nephilim, and this craziness is happening. Because here's the thing. We'll get to certain cards here in a little bit, but Spawning Breath is a thing, okay? 1 damage to target creature player, get a 0/1 health Drazi spawn creature that can be sacrificed for a colorless. So you're playing this, and you're like, you know what? There's not enough creatures in play, okay? You know what? There's 10 plus my Inktrader Nephilim, but I want more. So you target Inktrader Nephilim with this. All of a sudden, it targets every creature and pings them all for 1. Yay! I mean, you're actually kind of hoping that creatures don't get taken out with this, and there's ways to prevent that. We'll talk about here in a bit, but still, it might take out a couple, but it probably doesn't take out everything, and all of a sudden, you just double up the number of creatures in play. Let's say there's like 16 out there. Now you've just made even more creatures, more targets for you, and you also have 16 Eldrazi spawn that you can sacrifice if you really want to for mana. Cool. Also, though, now we have more targets, so we can just cast them like Ancestor's Aid. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains first strike until the end of turn. Oh, and by the way, create a treasure token. Wizards started making more and more things out of treasure tokens. And when I first built my initial Inktrader Nephilim deck, there weren't anywhere near this many, or like any essentially that like, hey, target creature, make a treasure token. Now there's quite a few of them. And because of that, you basically have absurd ritual effects with this commander now, with this secret commander. You're like, okay, I target Enter Nephilim for 2 mana. I target every creature on the board. In that last example, what, 16 creatures? Cool. I spend 2 to get 16 mana. That again, I can utilize right away to then cast more expedite spells, to draw even more cards, to then cast more spells that make even more creature tokens, to then cast even more spells that give me more treasures. Do you see where this is going? This little loop that we can make essentially is just like, oh yeah, I have absurd amounts of value for nothing. I'm doing nothing essentially. Just cast tiny little spells and I get absurd value that you could never get. Oh, and by the way, even just skipping all of this, just skipping doing all these things where you're like drawing 10 cards for 1 mana or making all these treasures for nothing essentially, you could just cast a Karizev's Expertise and win. Control target creature vehicle until end of turn, untap it against haste until end of turn. Okay, so any kind of a singular threat and effect plus this commander equals insurrection. Secret commander, I should say, equals insurrection. Again, insurrection, an 8 mana, 8 mana, 9 mana? I think it's 8. 8 mana card you're getting for typically threat and effects are 3 mana. Yeah, but this one's even better because it all says, oh, by the way, you may cast a card and convert mana cost 2 less for your hand without paying its mana cost. All the cards we care about in this deck are essentially like 2 mana or less when it comes to, again, those like expedite type draw spells, the treasure spells, the absurd creature making spells. Yeah, we just get to do that for free, 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 that for free. Play your entire deck most likely, while you also just stole everyone's creatures and swung at them with them and probably took some players out with that. But of course, you have other ways to take players out too. Or you know what? Mythos Philuna. If you really want things to just go on longer for whatever reason, sure. Create tokens, copy target permanent. And also you can have things fight their creatures. Regardless, being able to say, oh, okay, cool. I'll create a token of my Enter Nephilim. Great, got a second one. That's crazy. Not legendary, so that's crazy. Oh, also, by the way, I get a token copy of all of your creatures. Just basically making token copies of everyone's armies, and now I double up their creatures on the board. Number 1, number 2, I have them all. I also have ways to give them haste like Expedite. They'll swing with them right away. So yeah, you can also, again, on top of that, then threaten your opponent's creatures with, Karizev's Expertise. Now you have like double their army. You can do some crazy things with this. Again, like clone effects, stealing effects, every kind of effect that you can imagine of that just targets a single creature just becomes exponentially so much better with this secret commander combination. And again, you've got a way to like board wipe protection for everything too. Blacksmith skill. Target permanent gains hex prevent disruptible end of turn. Artifact creature +2/+2. Don't really care about that too much. Could come in handy, but what we care about is, hey, for 1 mana, I can protect not just my entire board, all of your entire boards, essentially. Again, because Inktrade F is in play, I cast a single 1 mana spell, and everything is hexproof, indestructible until end of turn. Yay. So being able to say, no, let's not have you wipe the board. I will just keep things fine and fair, and not fair really, but fair for me. Being able to say, you know what, I get them all. And yes, there's other indestructible effects too that you can utilize. It is an absurd deck that you literally can just do absolutely crazy things with that, again, your opponents will not be expecting. And again, I've never had it. I mean, I guess I've only played this so many times because it was just so potent the first time, but essentially you have a million avenues to victory the second that this comes into play, because you probably have multiple spells that cost a single mana that help you draw cards, and you're just like, okay, cool, play that, draw 10 cards. Okay, cool, play that, make a ton of treasures. Okay, play that, make a ton of creature tokens. I double up the number of creatures on the board. Cool, all right, play that, make even more treasure tokens. Play that, draw even more cards. Okay, take all your creatures, steal them, pump them all, you're all gone. There's so many crazy things you can do. This is absolutely absurd. And again, it is one that you be careful with, okay? Again, this is not for every kind of meta out there, okay? This is not for every kind of play group out there. Be careful with this one. Just, yeah, be careful what you wish for, because when you build a monster like this, sometimes you don't get to play that monster because it's, yeah, it is what it is. Next up, one that is a mainstay for a reason. Yeah, Teysa Karlov. My goodness, this can be good in nearly any meta out there. Unless, like, you're playing against a meta that's, like, specifically utilizing, like, Rest in Peace. Then, maybe not so much. But, any other meta out there, 2/4 Human Advisor for 4 mana and Orzhov. If a creature dying causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, the ability triggers additional time. Also, on top of that, because that wasn't enough, creature tokens you control have Vigilance and Lifelink. It did not need that, Wizards. It did not need that. Teysa did not need that. She did not need that text, but you know what? Teysa has it. So let's double up death triggers. Yeah, that's powerful. Oh, and by the way, creature tokens also just Vigilance Lifelink. Why not? Doubling up death triggers is absurd. When it comes to this, plus just being an aristocrat style, Commander, it is hard to beat that. It is hard to beat that. It is hard to do anything against this once it gets going. It is impossible to stop. Because here's the thing, aristocrat style decks like to sacrifice things like creatures when they die. They double up the abilities. They double up that, but they also double up like Crawling Chorus. 1/1, Toxic 1. Also when it dies, you make a 1/1 with Toxic 1. Cool, I also get blocked. But hey, you have 1 mana creature. You sacrifice this with one of the many things that you have to sacrifice, and all of a sudden you make 2. So this 1 mana creature gives you 3 creatures thanks to Teysa, and when you're sacrificing those creatures, you also get even more value off of those. The value of this, again, becomes pretty exponential when you're like, all the value you can get out of this 1 mana spell is absurd once you're set up properly. That's all you need to know. I mean, Minister of Obligation, again, this one costs more, right? This is 3 mana. Oh, no. 2/1, Afterlife 2. So when it dies, you get 2 1/1s. Okay, so normally that'd be 3 creatures for 3 mana. That's already good. But with this commander, it's like, no. I double that up. So you get 4 of those creatures. So all of a sudden, this is 5 creatures for 3 mana. And again, all the value that you get out of sacrificing every single one of those creatures is absurd once you're set up properly. Ogre Slumlord, okay. Hey, opponents, why don't you help me out? 3/3 Ogre Rogue. Whenever another non-token creature dies, I almost said you control. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may create a 1/1 rat. Rats you control have Death Touch. Your opponent's creatures count. So all of a sudden, whenever any creature on the board dies that is not a token creature, you get 2 rats. So opponent's creatures die, you get 2 rats. Your creatures die, you get 2 rats. Everything gives you 2 rats, and yeah, your creature fodder is going to be absurd. Thanks to this, Requiem Angel. Even more absurd because this one says, hey, whenever another non-spirit, not non-token, non-spirit creature control dies, make a 1/1 spirit with flying. So, hey, you just made a bunch of rats. Cool, sacrifice those rats, and all of a sudden, you get all this value and all other things from that, but also, hey, Requiem Angel says, oh, those weren't spirits? Cool, make 2 spirits for each one of those rats. And you can just see the potential. Once you're set up just a little bit with this commander, it's like, oh yeah, that goes to that, goes to that, goes to that, goes to that. It's so hard to stop. Again, unless your opponents have like a rest in peace, they're not stopping this. Moving on, Liliana Standard Bearer. And again, there's ways to generate card advantage. I mean, not absurd like Inktrade Nephilim, like 1 mana ways, but still actually, once you're set up properly, even more so maybe even. A 3/1 Zombie Knight with Flash. And just battlefield draw extra X number of creatures that died under control this turn. It does not say non-token, so you're spending 3 mana to draw probably 20 plus, maybe even more. Again, sacrificing creatures that make more creatures that make more creatures. You sacrifice those, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, okay, do this in instant speed. Obviously on your turn right before this, and I'll pay 3 mana. I'll draw 20. Cool. All right, my turn's gonna be great next. Also, how about like Airbolt's Blackhearted again? Even on a budget, you're like, yeah, you know what? Drawing cards like a Grim Harvest is amazing with style decks. It is. And again, you're drawing 2 for every 1, but that is non-token. You can also take advantage of token creatures, though, with this. Like, hey, whenever a creature you control dies, pay 2 life, draw a card. Cool. Let's, just do that with all my token creatures now, too. You can also sacrifice creatures with this if you really need to, but of course, we've got better sacrifice outlets out there. We also have ways to take advantage of these creatures, and we also have ways to gain the life back that we need with this. So, like, a Cruel Celebrant. Another creature, Planeswalker control dies, you don't lose 1 life, you gain 1 life. It doubles that up. So they're all getting drained 2, you're gaining 2. Have fun with that. Again, any of these kind of blood artist style effects are absolutely absurd with this commander. Teysa Karlov is a mainstay for a reason, and it is dominant. Basically, again, no matter what your meta is, except for if you're playing against, rest in peace meta, where everyone has a rest in peace, then you might be in a little bit of trouble. And you need to find ways to deal with those rest in peace, so you're not going to be able to stop them. But yeah, find ways. Teysa is crazy good in nearly any meta out there. And finally, how about Jetmir? Now, this version of Jetmir is lovely. It only costs $2.03. There are more expensive versions, but yeah, if we're talking about budget, utilize whatever version's cheapest, right? Jetmir is absurd. Again, no matter what your budget is, it can dominate a game out of nowhere. A 5/4 cat demon for 4 mana in Naya. So low to the ground. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and have vigilance as long as you control 3 more creatures. Also, if you've got 6 creatures, an additional +1/+0. Oh, and by the way, also trample. Oh, and by the way, if you happen to get 9 creatures in play, an extra +1/+0 and double strike. So here's the thing. If you've got 9 creatures in play, which is very easy for you to do in these colors, all of a sudden, your creatures get +3/+0, double strike, and trample. Meaning that even a simple 1/1 creature is hitting for 8 damage. Trampling damage with double strike. Absolutely absurd. And again, that's just like a baseline, essentially, right? You could have any kind of Anthem effect, and that's going to be doubled with that double strike. You could also have just, Yeah, an absurd amount of effects. Yeah, this is a deadly commander in nearly any meta because it is so quick, so effective, and there are so many ways to make an absurd amount of tokens so quickly, your opponents will blink and they are gone. And also, my Ink Trader Nephilim deck would love to see this as long as I can get out Ink Trader, quickly enough. Again, if I was playing it. Regardless, increasing devotion. It might not matter with how quick this can go. Sorcerer for 5 mana, create 5 1/1 humans. Souls cast from graveyard, create 10 of those instead. This already just, this plus your commander gets you to that step 2. If nothing else, right, it's still +2/+0, trample, and vigilance. Cool, congratulations. And obviously, if you flash your back, you're already at step 3, right? You're already double strike everything. So much value, so much power. Again, what would normally just be, again, let's just say the example is you cast this, you recast from your graveyard, cool, it's 15, plus your commander, that's 16 creatures. You're really easily there. That would normally just be what, 16 plus Jetmir is 5 plus 16 is 21 damage. With Jetmir's effects, all of a sudden, hey, each of these little tokens is hitting for 8 instead of 1. So whatever 8 times 15 is, really quick math, 120. Plus Jetmir is, what, 8 so plus 16, so 136. That's enough to take out all your opponents. Just literally, your commander plus this card is enough. And again, yeah, that's just like a base level of what you can do with this commander. Because also, hey, let's say your opponents, again, kind of like with my Ink Trader Nephilim, yeah, you can take advantage of their creatures. Instant for 3 mana, or you can spend 1 in a white extra for each opponent extra. Choose any number of target opponents, create X 1/1 soldiers, or X number of creatures opponents control. That control, opponents control. Regardless, hey, pay 7 mana essentially instant speed before your turn and make however many creatures opponents have. Congratulations, all of a sudden, Jetmir has a massive army that again is going to be hitting for, instead of just 1 per creature, 8 per creature. Yeah, your opponents are gone if you cast this, essentially. They are just gone. Or at least their entire armies are gone. Plus, I mean, you probably have other things in play, too. I mean, how about like a Feldar Retreat? Even just this is absurd because landfall, you are in green. Your ramp is going to be land-based most likely, right? Ramp and growth type effects. Create a 2/2 cat or get a counter each creature to gain vigilance on a turn. Getting counters is lovely because you're like, hey, you know what? I'm going to get to that double strike, and my creature's going to be hitting even harder again. So keep that in mind. But also, hey, make a bunch of cats, just go wide, make an absurd amount of creatures, and get there quicker. These kind of repeatable creature tone creations can be absolutely amazing on top of all the quick ones that we have, too. Also, our opponents can help us out. Erasty on this web, they're going to have quite the conundrum when they're casting spells. You're like, I've got this great instant, but I can't cast it because the Jetmir player's got like 8 creatures already. Cast an source spell. Whenever opponent does, you get a 1/2 green spell creature with reach. Yeah, great blockers for you as well, so keep that in mind with that vigilance, so have fun with that. You can also just double up your army every turn with rabble rousing. Why is this a card? Hideaway 5, so value there. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, create that many 1/1 citizens. Cool. Then if there are 10 or more creatures, you may play the extra card playing its mana cost. Basically double up your army. So yeah, you're easily going to have well over 9 creatures very, very, very quickly. And then some. So yeah, basically your opponents are just gone. And if you have extra combat spells, good luck to them too. And you also get the card for free. Rising of the Day. Yeah, this card is crazy good. Enchantment for 3 mana, basically Fervor, creature control of haste, but also let your creature control get +1/+0. So that's a nice little extra, which again is basically double strike thanks to your commander, at least for itself. If you have other legendary creatures, great, but more importantly, again, hey, haste all your creatures. So again, you make all these creature tokens. Again, you can start at nothing. You just have your commander in play and just this. Your opponent's like, we're fine, everyone. We got this. We're good. And you're like, okay, I play this spell that makes like 8 creature tokens. They're like, oh no, that's the game! Because you just made an army out of nowhere, and then your opponents are getting attacked by that giant army. So yeah, very, very easy for you to take over a game very, very quickly. And also, you can draw an absurd amount of cards. Again, you are in green, which is just a weird thing to say, but like, you're in green, you can draw a lot of cards. That's just how it is apparently these days. Because there's someone at Wizards that is just into green for some reason. I mean, not for some reason, but like, they're like, green is struggling. They need more card draw. And everyone else is like, you sure? Like, they're doing fine. No. Green doesn't have enough in Commander, right? They only have ramp, just ramp. It's like, they got big creatures. They got ramp. They got card draw. They got all these things. They got great removal. No. They need card draw. Okay. Shamanic Revelation, draw a card for each creature you control. By the way, if your creatures are large, gain 4 life for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. Oh, yeah. Again, if I'm at 9 creatures, automatically, as long as all my creatures have at least 1 power, right? They're going to be getting that +3/+0, putting them at 4 power. All of a sudden, again, I drew 9 cards for 5 mana with this. Oh, and I just gained 36 life. Congratulations to me. So yeah, for 5 mana, that's quite the value. And again, you're in green. You've got ways to draw even more cards. Congratulations. So yeah, again, Jetmir, Nexus of Revels, absurdly powerful commander. One that can be great in many metas out there with whatever the budget is. Again, there's so many ways to make so many tokens and just take over the game out of nowhere. This kind of a commander. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in your opinion, what are some commanders that can dominate in your meta, no matter what the budget is? And also, again, if you are excited about that Inktrade Nephilim deck, again, I mean, watch the episode on it, but also be careful. Again, coming from someone who's learned from mistakes then and now again. But yeah, I played that deck like twice, I think, maybe even just once. And yeah, it's just one of those cards where it's like, hey, okay, I built the deck in a way that I just win if this happens. It's just, there's no question on it, essentially. Just, if I get Inktrade Nephilim out, I've got so many ways to draw a card at instant speed for 1 mana that I can draw into whatever I need to protect it if I need to protect it, and then just make more creatures, then make more treasures, then do more things. You just win. If you play that card, you just win. So be careful, okay, with that one, especially. Regardless, certain metas out there are okay with it, so make sure that you check that out. Check all the episodes out. I've done deck techs, I believe, on all these commanders, so make sure you're checking those episodes out. And yeah, if you are interested in the cards talked about this episode, check out that card list link in the description below. Comment below your thoughts, and of course, as always, thanks again, and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.